My parents moved my sister and her kids into my house while I was abroad, arguing you barely use it and replace the locks. What they didn't know was I'd already authorized my realtor to Reddit. Before we dive in, I've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is the best way to support us. It's quick, free, and it truly helps grow this amazing community. Let's start the story. I'm 34 years old, female, single, and work in international finance, which means I'm often on assignments abroad. Over the past 6 years, I've worked in 6 countries, traveled to dozens more, and built a life where my suitcase is more familiar to me than my kitchen. But I've also been smart about my money. I bought a house, my dream home, in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Seattle. It wasn't massive, but it was mine. 3 bedrooms, a sunroom, an updated kitchen, and a small but peaceful backyard. I poured love into it whenever I was back home, and it was a symbol of everything I'd worked hard for. But here's the catch. I'm gone a lot, usually for 6 to 10 months at a stretch. So yes, the house sits empty for long periods. I've always been aware of that and kept it maintained through a property manager. My neighbors were kind enough to keep an eye on it too. The last time I was home was for a month over Christmas. After that, I left for a long-term project in Germany. This project had me fully immersed, and for 3 months I didn't even check my home security cameras. I got busy, distracted, and trusted that everything was under control. That trust shattered with a single call from my neighbor Lisa. She called me one evening in early May saying she saw my parents unloading a moving truck at my house. At first I thought she was confused. "No. I'm not kidding," she said. "Your sister and her kids are there too. They've been there for about a week. Your dad said something about you giving them permission." I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. I called my mom immediately. Her tone was casual, cheerful even. She said they figured I wouldn't mind since I barely used the place. My sister had just gone through a nasty separation and needed somewhere to stay with her 3 kids. They thought it was a shame for a perfectly good home to sit empty when family needed it. My mom said they were planning to keep it clean and maybe even redecorate it a bit to make it feel homier. When I told her she had no right to do that, she went quiet. Then she said I was being selfish. The next bombshell came 2 days later when I checked my security app and saw it had been disconnected. I called the property manager, who informed me that someone claiming to be me had requested to terminate the service. He assumed it was a mistake but complied. That was when I realized they had gone as far as replacing the locks and wiping out my access. I was livid. Not only had they trespassed and taken over my home without permission, they'd also tried to erase my ability to intervene. I called my sister and demanded she move out immediately. Her response? She laughed. "You don't even live here. The kids are finally settled. You'll be gone again in a few months." "Why does it matter?" "Because it's my house," I snapped. "You don't get to claim it because it's convenient." She said she wasn't going to uproot her kids again and that mom and dad said they'd talk to me. She hung up before I could say another word. The thing is, they didn't know what I had already done. 2 weeks before all this happened, I had decided to sell the house. I wanted to invest in a property closer to New York where I'd be posted next year. The Seattle house had sentimental value, but it didn't make financial sense anymore. So I signed over the paperwork to a local realtor I trust, Tracy, and told her to begin the listing process. The house had already been prepped and staged. Tracy had the keys. The photographs were taken. The online listing was drafted and we were due to go live with it in just 5 days. I called Tracy and told her everything. She was horrified. "They can't just occupy the house," she said. "That's a legal nightmare." I told her to proceed with the listing anyway. We agreed not to delay. Meanwhile, I contacted a lawyer. The legal advice was clear. While it's a domestic situation, what my family did amounted to unlawful occupancy. I could serve them notice through a formal eviction, though the process might take a few weeks. Given that I wasn't renting the house out and there was no lease agreement, they had no legal standing. I gave Tracy the go-ahead to put the listing live. The next morning, she sent someone from her team to post the for sale sign in the front yard, and that's when all hell broke loose. My sister called me crying, saying I was threatening her kids' stability. My mom accused me of abandoning family. My dad told me I was overreacting, but I didn't back down. I told them that if they didn't vacate the property within 2 weeks, I would move forward with eviction proceedings. That wasn't a bluff. I already had the paperwork prepared. Tracy had scheduled private viewings for prospective buyers and warned that any refusal from the current occupants to allow entry would be met with legal response. Of course, they didn't take it well. For the next few days I received angry texts, guilt-tripping voicemails, and even threats that I'd be disowned for choosing money over family. But the truth was, it wasn't about the money. It was about boundaries, about respect. That house was my achievement. They didn't get to take it because it was convenient for them, especially not after going behind my back, changing locks and lying to everyone involved. Then came the final straw. I got a call from a prospective buyer who managed to speak to my sister during a showing. Apparently my sister told her the house wasn't really for sale, that there was a mistake and the listing would be taken down soon. The buyer called Tracy directly and told her about the conversation, and Tracy was furious. That was it for me. I called my lawyer and began the formal eviction notice. I emailed a copy to my sister, my parents, and sent a hard copy through certified mail. I gave them exactly 10 days to leave the property or I'd file for removal through the court system, and that was the moment everything shifted. When the eviction notice landed in their hands, the mood changed from smug entitlement to panicked chaos. My sister called me 4 times that same night. I didn't pick up. I was done explaining myself. Everything they needed to know was already written out in legal terms. The house was mine and their presence there was illegal. Period. By the 3rd day after the notice, my mother finally cracked and left me a long voice message. Her tone had shifted. Less confrontational, more wounded. She said she never imagined I'd go this far, that family should need lawyers and eviction threats to resolve things, that I was turning my back on my roots. I played that voicemail 3 times before deleting it. Funny how none of them thought it was extreme to change the locks on my house, kick out the property manager I paid, cancel my security system, and lie to my neighbors. But the moment I used the legal system to take my property back, suddenly I was the villain. But I didn't budge. Tracy had already shown the house to 3 serious buyers, and one of them had made a cash offer. It was above asking price, contingent on a quick closing. But there was a catch. They wanted the house fully vacated within 10 days. I told Tracy to accept the offer. Now I had no room for hesitation. I called my sister again. She finally picked up, and I told her calmly that a buyer had been secured. And unless she and her children vacated the house within 5 days, I would be proceeding with the sheriff's office to remove them physically. Her voice trembled. She asked where she was supposed to go. I said that was not my problem anymore. You had time. You had warnings. You had chances. You chose to ignore them, I said. I think deep down she realized it too. She hung up without another word. 2 days later I got a call from my neighbor Lisa again. She told me a moving truck had pulled up outside the house and my parents were helping my sister load her things. No drama. No police. Just quiet defeat. I thanked Lisa for watching over everything, for being my eyes when I couldn't be there. That weekend Tracy's assistant did a final walkthrough. The house was empty. It didn't feel like a victory at first. It felt hollow, like I had just gone through a war with the very people who were supposed to protect me. But when I saw the photos of the house again, clean, untouched, peaceful, I remembered why I bought it in the first place. It was a symbol of independence, hard work, and freedom, and I was reclaiming it one final time. The sale closed within 3 weeks. The funds hit my account and I felt a strange kind of relief, like I could finally exhale. I wired a chunk of the money toward my new apartment in Manhattan and used the rest to invest. My new place wasn't as quiet or spacious, but it was mine. And this time no one had a spare key but me. As for my family, things went cold. My sister blocked me. My mom and dad stopped calling. For the first time in years there were no birthday messages, no awkward holiday group chats. At first it stung. I wondered if I had gone too far, but then I remembered how far they had pushed first. None of this would have happened if they had just respected boundaries. They thought they were entitled to my life, my space, my earnings, because I had more than they did. But having more doesn't mean you owe it all away, especially not to people who take without asking, who manipulate and guilt trip when they don't get their way. 3 months after the sale I got a letter from my dad. Not a call, not an email, a handwritten letter. He didn't apologize directly, but he admitted they may have overstepped. He said they thought they were helping, that they didn't want to see my sister on the street. He ended it by saying that if I ever felt ready to talk, the door was open. I haven't replied yet. I don't know if I ever will, but I do know this. I will never ever let anyone make me feel guilty for protecting what I've built. That house was my sanctuary and they tried to steal it right out from under me dressed in the disguise of family obligation. If I hadn't acted when I did, I might have come home one day to find my name stripped off the mailbox and my childhood bedroom turned into a playroom. Some battles are quiet. Others come with moving trucks and change locks. This one came with both, but I fought back. And I won. Not out of spite, out of survival.